Okay, raise your hand if you've ever worn a pair of earrings that you were allergic to the point where they were kind of hard to take out, but they were marketed as hypoallergenic. What's up with that? That's right, you heard it here, folks. Today we are talking about pierced ears, nickel allergies, and contact dermatitis. So when I was 5 or 6, my mom took me to Claire's to get my ears pierced. Fun, right? It was probably a bad decision though, because my ears started getting really swollen and red no matter what we put into them. I mean, at one point, I was like a 5-year-old walking around with 14-karat gold earrings in my ears, which was insane. But no matter what we put in, I was pretty allergic to them, so eventually we took the earrings out and we just let the holes close. Obviously, though, I have earrings now, so what changed? Well, the thing that changed was that a few years ago, I did a ton of research as to what metals would actually work for my skin and what hypoallergenic even means in the jewelry context. And today, I'm here to share all of that with you. And I'm not a doctor, I'm just someone who's had allergies myself. So welcome to Meg Talks Science. I'm Meg and I talk about science, and let's talk about hypoallergenic jewelry. Is it legit? So nickel allergies affect somewhere between 8 to 19% of adults in Europe. It's one of the most common contact allergens in the whole Western world. And a contact allergen is just something that you have to touch for it to bother you. The thing is, exposure to nickel while you're allergic to it can lead to contact dermatitis, which usually takes the form of an itchy red rash. You may have experienced this if, for instance, you wore earrings with nickel that you were allergic to and then everything got really swollen and kind of itchy afterwards. It's a really uncomfortable experience. But the thing is, nickel is just common. You can get exposed through so many places. You can have work tools with nickel, keys, coins with nickel, sewing and knitting needles. It's pretty much everywhere is the issue. And the really tricky thing is that exposure to nickel also increases the probability that one day you'll develop a nickel allergy yourself. The frustrating thing is that metal allergies aren't just limited to nickel. So although the most common allergies to metal include nickel, chromium, and cobalt, you can also be allergic to other metals like gold, palladium, and even titanium, and it just feels like we're naming metals at this point. Now, you may have seen on social media the whole bioreactive versus non-bioreactive metal idea. Basically, you'll see a lot of talk if you see someone asking about hypoallergenic jewelry advice that they should go for a non-bioreactive metal like titanium. However, there is some evidence that people can be allergic to titanium itself these days. Fortunately, it's very rare to be allergic to pure titanium itself, and you may have an issue with the alloy rather than the actual titanium, but this is still an issue to worry about, and it seems like it's no longer a helpful dichotomy. Generally, you are more likely to be allergic to things like nickel rather than, say, gold or titanium, though, and that is something to keep in mind. So what's the problem? Why does my gold jewelry bother me if I'm probably not actually allergic to gold itself? And this is where alloys come in, which are the banes of our existence if you have any problems with a metal. So the thing about gold is that it's typically good for your skin, but it's too soft to be made into jewelry alone. It has to be alloyed with something. It can be mixed with copper to make rose gold. Typically, you'll see something like zinc, copper, nickel, and silver alloyed with gold, and I'm probably missing some because tons of things get alloyed with it. And sterling silver has the same issue. While it is 92.5% silver, it's typically alloyed with like copper for strength, meaning that if you have an issue with copper, this can totally trigger an allergy. So yeah, that means that you actually have to figure out what you're allergic to. And this can be really difficult because a lot of jewelry companies don't tell you what their jewelry is actually made with. So the best way to figure out what you're really allergic to if you have had an itchy skin rash in the past is to get a patch test from a dermatologist. This can accurately identify what you're actually allergic to, and you can make sure to avoid things with your triggers in the future. And remember to always go to a doctor if you do experience something like a concerning rash, especially if it's on your face, your mouth, or another sensitive place. But yeah, if you don't go to the dermatologist, then you might just have to do trial and error until you find out what works for you. That leads us to the question of whether hypoallergenic jewelry will work for you if you do have allergies. And the thing is, that depends. So the term hypoallergenic is largely meaningless. There are no actual regulations on what counts as hypoallergenic. In America, this is thanks in part to a court case involving Clinique, so thank you, Clinique. The thing is, the thing that you're allergic to could be a rare allergy such as titanium, which is what the bulk of hypoallergenic jewelry uses. And in theory, hypoallergenic jewelry should be nickel-free or at least have low amounts of nickel, but this isn't even a surety because remember, the term hypoallergenic isn't regulated. Plenty of hypoallergenic jewelry is well made and does avoid common allergens, but plenty of companies fail at that too. So what are people with metal allergies supposed to do when it comes to buying jewelry? And unfortunately, this is really just a game of evaluating everything that you buy carefully. And the frustrating thing is that cost doesn't always equal safety when it comes to allergies. So for instance, rose gold is pretty expensive, but if you're allergic to copper, it's still going to cause a rash because it has copper in it. It's really just a matter of finding something that doesn't bother you and learning what metals to stick with. Personally, rhodium has never bothered me, so when it came time to finding my wedding and engagement ring, I went with white gold because modern white gold tends to be gold dipped in rhodium, and I've never had an issue with it. And like I said before, issues with titanium are super rare, so plenty of hypoallergenic jewelry is made with titanium, and that can work for a lot of people. And while high cost doesn't necessarily ensure safety, I feel like the opposite, where like low cost ensures unsafety, is kind of true. So the thing is, cheap materials and random jewelry is a recipe for an uncomfortable rash for many people, me included. Because in America, cheap jewelry is usually made with nickel, which can not only be uncomfortable if you're allergic now, it can also sensitize you so that you're allergic in the future if you don't have an allergy right now. Ow. Fortunately, in the EU, there are regulations on the amount of nickel that can be in jewelry. Unfortunately, a 2014 survey in Germany found that 26 out of 160 of the piercing posts that they tested did have higher than the legally permitted amount of nickel in them. So it's an improvement, but it's one that we're still working towards, is the thing. And if you want a law like that in America, you can call your representative and ask for them to focus on that in the future, and maybe we'll get one in like 25 years. We'll see. So what do we do about this going forward? For now, while we don't have any legislative solutions to actually fix this problem, I would say know your jewelry and know your body. And to know your jewelry, this means to know the terms used in the gold industry and the jewelry industry as a whole. So for example, if something is gold plated, it means that there's a thin layer of gold surrounding a non-precious metal. To be gold filled means that there's a thicker layer of gold surrounding a non-precious metal. If it's gold vermeil, it means that there's a thin layer of gold surrounding sterling silver. And if it's solid gold, it's the real deal, baby, 100% gold. And by knowing your body, I mean that you should just know what you tend to react to and what you tend to not react to. So personally, I can wear sterling silver for like a day or so before anything happens, and not all sterling silver is that much of an issue for me. However, I'm very careful with my ears because I really don't like it when things get swollen there, so I stick with white gold or titanium. I've already said my wedding ring is white gold because I wear it every day. And in generally, knowing what brands works for you can really help. So if you're talking about less expensive brands, I've had good experiences with James Avery, which is a sterling silver company. They do sterling silver bracelets, rings, and necklaces, and I've never had an issue with them. And Teeny Lux, which is a hypoallergenic earring brand, which are on the affordable side of things. I really like them. And this video isn't sponsored at all. Those are just brands that I personally have had success with. But what works for me might not work for you is the thing. So you have to find out what you're allergic to and how you react to that and what works for you. That's why I definitely recommend speaking with a dermatologist if you're worried. They'll be able to give you really clear guidance and do allergy tests. And just generally, if you want piercings, especially even ear piercings, go to an actual piercer. Don't go to Claire's. They do different methods, and the method that a real piercer will do is a lot better for your tissue, which can mean a lot less sensitization in the future just in the actual tissue itself. It'll have a lot easier of a healing journey. So do you have any more advice for me? Do you experience this problem? Let me know in the comments down below, and maybe we can get a conversation going. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll talk to you next time. Okay, bye.